Hi everyone, I'm here with Anthea Collier, who is our Managing Director of Asia Pacific and one of my all-time favourite leaders for Randstad SourceRight. And we're going to be talking about talent acquisition today in terms of what does it mean to look at how you can increase access to talent through the likes of recruitment process outsourcing or RPO. So thanks for joining me today, Anthea, on Talent Trailblazer TV.
Thank you so much, Louisa. And this is my favourite topic, so I can't wait to talk with you.
Perfect. So let's get ourselves started. I'm going to start with the first question of today. So what are the biggest challenges that companies are facing when it comes to accessing the talent they need to drive their business forward?
It's a good question, Louisa. I think that the world around us is moving extremely fast, and most of the clients that we're working with are going through a significant transformation. They're either looking to extend the production of products or services into new geographies, or they're in fact changing the market in which they operate. And what that means is that for the clients that we support today in Asia Pacific particularly, we are recruiting for skill sets that 18 months ago were not in the demand forecast whatsoever. And that poses a number of challenges for our client groups, because what that means is, one, we've got to go and find these new emerging skill sets on their behalf, but two, we've got to try and determine, does their brand match with the expectations of candidates? Will that candidate entrust their career to this client organization when in fact they may have a very different brand perception? So it is challenging.
Yeah, and I can see in the marketplace today, you're exactly right. There's new roles coming to market all the time, and it is shifting so fast, it's hard to keep pace. So what do you think are the key advantages of partnering with an external talent solutions provider, and how can RPO really help deliver better access to talent?
Okay, double-barreled question, Louisa. You're keeping me on my toes. So in terms of partnering with an external talent provider, this is our core competency. This is all that we do. And if you're partnering with the right recruitment process outsourcing provider, then they are making material investments in ensuring that they are bringing to their clients a real understanding of the fast-changing HR technology landscape. So for Randstad SourceRight, what does that mean? We have a Randstad Innovation Fund that is funded to the tune of 50 million euro, and that was established 4.5 years ago by our global CEO. And he established that so that we could better understand that very fast-moving landscape. That means that when we're talking with our clients and we're helping our clients navigate, we're able and equipped to understand the tools that are actually going to enable us to reach the talent very, very swiftly, but also in a manner that enables us to provide a great hiring manager and candidate experience. And that's really important, because the candidate shortage is not going to change. For the skill sets that our clients need to transform, we have to make sure that we position their brand in a way that is extremely attractive and enables them to get the competitive advantage when it comes to talent acquisition.
Anthea, I think when you look at the HR tech landscape, it is incredibly complex and growing at such a fast rate. It's really difficult for organisations to keep up with it, let alone be able to invest in it, like you said, with the Randstad Innovation Fund. So I think it's interesting what you said. We talk about, the experience being more human, and that technology should really enable us to provide a more human experience to engage candidates. So can you tell me about some of the innovations that talent leaders are using to access and engage candidates?
Absolutely. I think that the days of candidates being available strictly between 9 to 5 and hiring managers being available strictly between 9 to 5 are fast changing. Most of our hiring managers are traveling extensively, whether within country or across a region. And that means that they need to be able to access candidate interviews at a time that works for them, and need to be able to access those candidate interviews on their mobile. So for us, we use tools such as montage, video interviewing, video on demand, which means that the hiring manager can get a better and more realistic understanding of the candidate's capability than the old paper-based resume, which to many experiences didn't really bring alive the capability of the candidate. From the candidate's perspective, we use things like Alio Chatbot, which is an artificial intelligence chatbot, which means that at any point in time, or 24/7, our candidates are able to ask questions, understand what the role specifications are, and likewise, we're able to screen. And we're able to do that at a time and in a lifestyle that works for our candidates and our hiring managers. And that's really about bringing the brand to life, but it's also about assuring the candidate community that our client is moving with the times and is adopting fresh technologies. That in itself helps revitalize the employer brand. But I think one of the things that we have to recognize is that the human touch should never be eliminated from the process. And certainly there are organizations out there that are experimenting with a pure artificial intelligence environment. From our perspective as Randstad Sourceright, we believe that the human touch and the advisory is absolutely critical to the talent acquisition process. And it's how do you use technology to make it easier, a better process, but then inject that human touch to make it a very personal experience.
Absolutely. And I think that's where, technology is really enabler. And I like to say that you've got to focus on those human moments of wow that truly convert talent to want to work for your organization. So we were just chatting before about data, and I think, people talk about data being the new oil when it comes to talent acquisition and recruitment. And, I think it is one of the key areas of investment for many companies today. So how are companies using talent analytics to make business decisions and really better predict their workforce needs?
That's a great question, and I think there's been a lot of discussion about data analytics. Has it really come to life? I think it's still emerging. But just last week, we were talking with a client that was trying to make decisions on whether they were locating new office sites in the right geography, in the right cities. And for them, it was about understanding the depth of talent that was going to support their growth, their exponential growth, to make the decision not just around tax-based relief that local government might provide to them as a significant employer, but really about the depth of talent. The other is using talent analytics to make a determination as to which labour category is going to make sense for the growing organisation. Should you be looking at contingent labour? Should you be looking at statement of work? Or should you be looking at full-time hiring? There are many organisations that are now starting to rethink what the workforce is going to look like. And we were fortunate to sit with a global head of talent acquisition with a very well-known Fortune 100 organisation who was sharing with us that his organisation's view is that within probably about 6 years, he believes that there will be certain technology organisations where the only full-time employees will be the C-suite. The remainder of the organisation will in fact be contingent labour. Now that's a whole different way of thinking, and it requires an entirely different workforce strategy if you're going to move down that particular path. But his view is that for emerging technologies, employees today are very concerned about their portfolio of skills, and they're not necessarily going to lock themselves into one employer and perhaps become stagnant in terms of their attractiveness to the broader community. So that's a very different way of thinking, and I think that certainly is supported by talent analytics to understand where that talent sits and how best to engage.
Absolutely, and I think there's many organisations today that are thinking in that way and looking at holistically more at talent and what's the right type of talent to get the work done that they need to get work done. Done. So tell me, Anthea, we at Randstad Sourceright have a very strong focus on building a range of different RPO models and talent models for the customers that we work with. So tell me a little bit more about what you think is different in our approach to RPO.
I think we do focus heavily on a data-led talent advisory approach. I do think that whilst we are heavily invested in understanding HR technology, and in some instances we've taken equity stakes to better understand that space, we don't believe that applications or software or algorithms are the only approach. And so it really is a blend of human touch, using technology to enable and to allow us to move faster with broader reach. And I think, again, it's an understanding of looking at historic analytics. And in this case, for instance, we're heavily engaged at the moment in reviewing our current year aged requisitions. What worked, what didn't work, what needs to change? What does the data show in terms of how our clients are positioned from a remuneration and a market competitiveness? What do we need to change in regards to sourcing channels? What will we pilot in the coming year? Where do we need to change how we have engaged and how we have supported emerging skills? What are we doing around diversity and inclusion? What does the data show us for this current year? And how are we going to use that to predict how we move forward into the coming year and indeed 2 years out? That I guess consistent review and analysis is absolutely critical for us to bring value. Today, RPO is not about simply filling requisitions. It's about being advisory. And advisory is about being able to provide insights into what's happening within the market space and guiding our client through a very volatile market landscape and helping them achieve competitive advantage. We need to understand the business goals of our client organization, and then we need to make sure that we're providing guidance around talent acquisition to help them achieve those business goals. That's the exciting part of what we do.
Absolutely. And I think if you look at it, it's all about how can you really define and create value and quantifiable impact.
Yes.
I fully agree. It's not just about people in jobs today. It's about how you're helping to elevate towards business goals and growth. So I have one last question for you.
Okay.
We used to talk about 2020 being the future. Tell me, as companies head into their 2019 strategy and looking at their talent acquisition roadmap, what do you see as some really practical tips for how they can enhance their recruitment strategies right now?
Okay, so what I would suggest is that probably twofold. We have the capability to provide you an employer brand strength assessment. We can do this for you free of charge. And what that does is it takes a look at how you're positioned from a social media perspective and a career website perspective. What we see in my region, which is Asia Pacific, is we frequently see very large brands come into our region, but they don't localize. And that means that the attractiveness to a local candidate, where English may be a second language, it's a deterrent. It hinders. It doesn't help. So we can help you with a very quick, what we call an EBSA, or an employer brand strength assessment, so that you can understand some swift tweaks that you can make to your career website, to your Glassdoor page, to your social media presence, that will help you as you look at how you can attract and engage the candidate communities that you're seeking. The other I would suggest is that you take a look at your 2018 data. What worked well? What didn't work well? What's happening around your aged requisitions? What are the strategies that you're going to put together to solve that? Are you going to test new sourcing channels? What are the recommendations around diversity and inclusion? And that, whilst Asia has always lagged North America, that is becoming ever more important as we look at gender, but also around physical disability. How do we create a more evolved workplace where we can really take advantage of individuals' capability and integrate them into an inclusive workplace? Those are a couple of quick tips. I'd love to talk with you more if you'd like to explore what we could do to assist you, or indeed if you would just simply like to take advantage of a free employer brand strength assessment. We'd be delighted to provide that to you. And thank you, Louisa. Good question.
Thanks so much, Anthea. I think you raised a really important point there. We deal with many global organizations that are looking to expand their talent strategies, particularly into, large and growing markets in Asia Pacific. What's your one piece of advice for global organizations that might be looking at expanding their current models into Asia Pacific?
I would suggest that you work with a partner who understands the market. There are a lot of regulatory limitations in some of the countries in which we deliver service. We understand that. There are also very significant culture requirements that you need to be aware of as you work to attract the right candidates to help your organization grow. Find a partner who understands. Now, it may well be that you partner for 2 or 3 years and then you decide you've learned and therefore you're going to insource it and take back control. Absolutely. But in the interim, you need that partner to help you with website localization or career website localization, understanding the regulatory environment, understanding the localized sourcing channels which work most effectively, understanding how to use social media to your advantage, and understanding how to engage with candidates to make certain that you can continue to grow your organization. I can't stress that. I think, a lot of people think of Asia as being one homogenous country. It's 18 countries, 18 cultures, 18 languages, 18 sets of regulatory compliance to be aware of. We pride ourselves on our knowledge and understanding, and we're learning every day. So come partner with us if you want to grow in Asia Pacific. We'd love to work with you. Thank you.